thank you so much for joining me. I am so happy to have you here, and I hope that today that you learned something. I plan to share many tools and stories, my experience teaching yoga over the years, and some of the testimonials that my students share with me. So I am going to begin by sharing my screen and sharing my presentation. All right. So I call this powerful lifestyle changes for bone health because we are in a time of understanding that our lifestyle and our behaviors and our habits have a huge effect on aspects of our health. Okay, so that is why I chose to call this lifestyle changes, because it really is, I believe, in our control. And what I notice is it's this diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia that can disempower us. It can make us feel fragile or breakable. And then we become very cautious because the thought of, I'm going to break a bone. And it's a very precarious feeling to have a fragility in your life and in your body. And it is that diagnosis that puts us into that place. So I am Debbie Robinson, and I'm a certified yoga therapist. To get that certification, it was a 1,000-hour training. And I was trained in a clinical setting with many doctors, chiropractors, and physical therapists to have an understanding of clinical conditions. I'm also a certified health coach. And ever since 2014, when I found this course taught by Dr. Fishman, I started teaching yoga for osteoporosis. And I offer that at at a hospital in Southern California. And they became my most popular and sought after classes. And I really think it's partly because people get a diagnosis, and that whatever that triggers inside of us makes us try to do something or implement some self-care. In addition to that, I teach cooking classes. I taught cooking classes at Torrance Memorial Hospital for caregivers. And then also I taught food and stress. So either the stress that food can cause, so certain foods that contribute to stress inside the body, or what could we eat to actually help mitigate stress inside the body. And then the big thing for me here is I had a hip replacement when I was 51 years old. And that has been a huge teacher for me. I see that I had this foresight from my teaching and this insight from my experience having that surgery, the injury that led up to it, and that surgery. And being handicapped at the age of 50, I think that what that did for me is that I wasn't functional. I had a handicap sticker. My life was this big. I stopped walking places, stopped moving, gained weight. I was the weight that I was. I have 3 children. When 2 days later, after you give birth, you come home from the hospital, the weight I was after giving birth is the weight I was before I had that surgery, which is crazy because it birthed a whole new life for me. And so it was a huge teacher for me because I was 50 years old and my dad was just about to turn, I believe, like 88 or 89. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got 40 more years to live this life. I can't live like this. And that's what made me have that surgery. And then I thought about the people that I teach that are in their 70s or in their 80s. And when they come to that point of the body got broken, the breakdown happened, the dysfunction came in, they might give up or not think that they can do anything. And so that's an insight that I have, that I try to empower people to take their health into their own hands. And I believe it's possible because I've seen it happen over and over and over throughout the years with hundreds of students that I have. I've taught over 100 people each week in the pre-pandemic era. The other thing is that what I observed in my teaching, I don't ask people their age, but I'm going to say that my average age student population is in the 60s and 70s, and definitely 50 plus. And I'm going to say that some of my 80-year-olds walk circles around the 50-year-olds, and my 70-year-olds over the 50-year-olds. So it really isn't what number are you. It's about what have you preserved in your body? What do you work towards to keep yourself mobile and functional? It is a use it or lose it proposition. And I'll speak a little bit more about that. That's a really important thing to note, because if we don't use it, we are losing it. So somebody was speaking earlier about the DEXA scan, and the DEXA scan relates us to, I believe it was 20. I thought that the T and Z scores were against a 20-year-old, but she said the word 35. And they found out that around 34 or 35 is actually when bone density loss begins. So it is a use it or lose it proposition, and we are losing it every year. And then, you know, when you come around 50, you're like, things are a little more challenging. And then you come to, you know, I'm not there yet. And they always say, just you wait. But I say no, because I'm going to get there strongly with my yoga. And then that being disempowered by the diagnosis, that's not a physical thing, right? You didn't just all of a sudden become fragile. You mentally became fragile. Because when you get a diagnosis, it's in the layers of you, the subtle layers that we cannot see. The part of you, the emotional, mental part of you. And I'll share a little bit about the testimonials of people that practice with me, because that's pretty important. The things that come up often when a diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia happens is people, the thing I hear the most is, I want to be strong and healthy as long as I can. Those are two very desirable things, to be strong and to be healthy. And people want to still travel, live a full life. What's been mentioned is, I want to be able to get down the ground with and play with my grandkids and be able to do that, and then also be able to get up. And then in one of my workshops, I teach a workshop, Aging Gracefully with Yoga. Somebody said, when you get to this age in life, and he's in his 60s, he said, my friend said, you second guess if you really need something when you drop it. You drop something, you look down, you're like, okay, do I really need that? Because, you know, we lose our range of motion and our ability to flex joints. So what is osteoporosis? Just want to say a little bit about osteoporosis. It's a process of remodeling. And in our bones, there's a building up phase that happens. And up until age 35, our bones are building. That's the greatest activity. And then there's a part of our bones that actually clean up. And they come in and they clean up the degenerating bone, and they digest it, and they create a space so that the bone building sites can build up new bone. This begins to shift in the mid-30s. And that's when it begins. And then for women, the greatest bone density loss is correlated to the loss of estrogen. So around 5 to 7 years post-op is when the greatest decrease occurs. And then, of course, those who are in any kind of cancer treatments, and there's medications that affect hormones, there's also that as well. Okay, so when I first started studying this in 2014, what gave me my OMG, I am going to do something about this, were the statistics. So 1 in 2 women and 1 in 4 men will have an osteoporotic fracture in their lifetime. This slide I hear, it said that due to the previous lack of focus on bone health, the number will be tripled by 2020, and we're already here. And these are US statistics. But the really big one that kind of just like, oh my gosh, or one of the big ones, is that 25% of the people that fall and fracture a hip never recover. And another 25 go into a home to never come out. That kind of got me. And then the global statistics, every 3 seconds, there's an osteoporotic fracture, like every 3 seconds. And then if you look at the numbers of the increase, 310% for men and 240 for women. So these are really crazy statistics. And oops, wrong way. And then this one here is that a woman's risk of a hip fracture is equal to the combined risk of breast, uterine, and ovarian cancers. Okay, so that's the scary stuff. That's what was the driving force for me, thinking I better learn all I can to keep everybody as safe as possible in the classes that I'm teaching. And that was a driver for me. One more statistic that I just think is really powerful is that every 19 minutes, an older adult dies from a fall. And this is according to the National Council of Aging and the US Centers for Disease Control. Falls are the second cause of preventable death. Until now, when we learn about yoga and we learn about how to make our bodies more receptive and strong and all of that. But what Dr. Fishman said, okay, so Dr. Fishman, I didn't even mention him and I'll get to him, but Dr. Fishman, maybe many of you know him, Dr. Lauren Fishman. It was him that I started studying with because he's a medical doctor. He's a physiatrist, he's a doctor of physical medicine, and I wanted to make sure that whatever I did was as safe as possible. And so I always follow science-based, evidence-based research. I follow Western medicine men mostly until I find female doctors that I can learn from as well, to learn as much as I can to share it with my students and my clients I work with privately. But what he said in our training is that bones don't just break, they break because we fall. So I was speaking with someone earlier about the fragility of that diagnosis, having that, and you feel like, oh my gosh, it's not because you have these bones, you're going to stand there and break. And there are some cases where that happens with people, that's very rare. It's because of a fall. And I think that yoga can help so many facets of that. And then another thing, I put this slide up because if you look at that slide on the right where you have the colored lines, the green, the pink, and the orange, the closer you get to 80 is really when those statistics kick in. So for those of you in your 50s, 60s, 70s, you're like, those statistics are much lower. So I think that's important. I do look at the statistics because I want to know about them, but then I also realize, okay, wait a minute. And so there are functional losses that are associated with aging that are really important. And this is where I think yoga starts to really come in, is sarcopenia, which is muscular loss. So we lose bone tissue, we also lose muscle tissue. And this begins in the 30s, and it's about 1% per year. And if you're sedentary, it could be up to 3 to 5%. And I heard that at the age of 80, we have 40 to 50% of the muscle mass we had at 20, if we don't practice yoga and do something about it. Neuromuscular communication, I say that the switchboard operators retired. So you know those movies in the 60s where the ladies are there with the headsets and have their things and they're like, hold on, Mr. Smith, hold on. And they do this thing and they're plugging in and they're connecting all the things. So those are the switchboard operators. I look at the nerves like that and they're on the muscles, telling the muscles, oh no, she's forward. Oh no, she's back. Oh no, she's sideways. And they start to retire. So the communication through the neurological pathways to the muscles kind of slows down, or they retire and they're not there anymore. And then dehydration is a huge aspect of aging and of the lack of fluidity, of mobility, and of communication in the body. Do you hear that, mom and dad? My mom and dad are here, and I'm always telling them how they have to drink. So dehydration can be a big part. And then when we get more cautious, we shuffle our feet. And when you shuffle your feet and you move slowly, there isn't all of that communication from the feet up to the brain through the proprioceptive nervous system. And you move slower and you're more prone to falls. And then this one here, sinkhole. This is another one. This is a thing I've termed. When we stand up, we have arches that are elevated, that are lifted, or arches. And even those of you that have flat feet, it's the arch part of the foot that kind of is where the kinetic chain begins in our body. And our feet are sensing wherever we are in space, and they communicate up the kinetic chain to the muscles to tell the muscles what to turn on and how to protect us from falling. So what I notice in the most precarious students that I've worked with over the years, the people that are the most fragile that come to my classes, or the people that have come away from an injury, and I'll even say myself, after I came back from my surgery having that hip replacement, when our muscular strength has gone, the muscles that hold you up also go. So what I notice is that the soles of the feet collapse, the knees go in towards each other because the lateral chain doesn't have the strength to hold you up. And then there's that postural aspect of all of this that's happening, right? So many people will say they lost height as they aged, right? And there is some some stuff that happens in the vertebral discs that could cause some height variation as we age. But a lot of the height variation is because of our posture and because of the sinkhole. All right. So I think there are three keys or three pillars to bone health. One, you need to have the nutrition in your body so that your bones, when they're ready to build, can build. Two, you need to create that proper stimulation. And three, you need a mindset to be in the calm, relaxed place so that your body will be ready to build bones. The stress mode, when the body's preparing to flee or to fight, it's not thinking about building and repairing. So it's really important that we learn how to manage our stress. And yoga has a lot of tools for that. Okay. So we are going to stand up in a second and do some stuff. I just want to say a little bit about Dr. Fishman. I said that already, and I said about my training that it was clinical, and I was trained by physicians. And my goal is safe, strong yoga. That's my goal, because bones are pretty strong things, right? They're pretty strong structures, and we really need stimulation. Like when there's either we need to pull on them or we need to push them to create some stimulation. So here's something, and I was speaking with someone earlier today about medications. I like to leave the medications to the doctors, and I will share with you in the courses that I teach what I have learned or what the doctors tell us, especially Dr. Fishman, because I do a lot of training with Dr. Fishman, and I share what he shares with me. So what he said, and he went like this when he did it, he said, there isn't a pill I can push across the table that will do as much for a person as yoga can. Because pills don't work on your balance, your coordination, your alignment, and all of that stuff. And so Wolff's Law is how this whole thing is based on. So this Wolff, Dr. Wolff, he tested birds' legs. And isn't this a great image? This image to me is everything: balance, grace, everything. And so Wolff's Law, he studied birds' legs, and they put this force or pressurized force from different angles on the legs. And it was so easy for them to see them because they're little stick legs. And he would put a force on these legs. And what they noticed is wherever they applied that pressure in the line that they applied it, that's where the bones got stronger. So the practice of yoga the poses and what they're doing is this. They're either doing compressive or weight-bearing pushing. So the joints are compressing and creating a force that your body says, oh my goodness, she's asking, or he is asking for more than usual. And the other way is when we twist and rotate and pull on muscles, or pull our muscles that are on our bones, it pulls the bone, and the bone also, it gets that stress response. Okay, a few more slides and then we're going to stand up. One thing I'd like to say is the biggest quote there, or what people say to me when I tell them I teach yoga and you should practice yoga, is, I'm not flexible enough. And what I'd like to tell you is that yoga is mostly for the mind and for the body. And you don't have to be physically flexible, you have to be mentally flexible. Half of all the fractures that occur are in the spine. And if you look at this image here, you'll see the arrow pushing down from above. So that would be your head. And the very front part where all the cracks are, that's the front part of your spine. That's right behind your chest here, behind your sternum bone. That's the front part of your spine. And that's where half of all fractures occur. And these are not going to be as devastating as the hip fracture or the femur bone fracture when you actually are bedridden and not mobile and you need assistance. But this can affect your quality of life and be painful. And there's so much. This could be like this whole, snowball starting, and then stuff can happen. So I want to teach you today. I said I was going to teach you powerful tools, and that's what I'm going to do. So I would like us to stand up. And for those of you that don't want to stand up, you don't have to stand up. But honestly, it's not going to be, so I'm going to go to here. I need to move my microphone so you guys hear me. I don't know. Oh yeah, yes, sorry, that's what I'll do. Okay, so I'm going to end my slideshow. I'm going to, am I spotlighted?
The problem is your screen share. I'm going to stop the screen share.
Oh, sorry. How do I get to the whole big screen where I'm screen sharing?
At the top, maybe, where it says.
Well, my whole thing went off. Oh, I see. Stop share.
There you go.
There we go. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm on so many webinars ever since this pandemic. And so there, okay. So here I am. You can see my head too, I think, right? Okay. So I would love it if you came to standing. We're not going to do anything crazy. And one thing I would say for those of you that are a little bit cautious, we're not going to do anything that's too challenging. Be near a wall if you feel that your balance is an issue, or have a chair nearby so that you can hold on to the chair. We're going to do a couple of things here. Because 50% of the fractures are in the spine, and the place in the spine that the fractures are is T8, which is kind of right here below the heart line. So these 4 thoracic vertebrae, and then the first 2 lumbar. It's in this part of your spine. And it's because when your head is forward, whenever there's any kind of poor postural position in the body, there's a lot of compressive force on this front part of the spine. And so what I'd like to teach you today are ways for you from now on to learn how to posturally correct yourself during the day. If some of you are still seated, since I can't see every person that's here, your tushy bones, your sits bones, are going to become your feet. Okay, so you're either going to be feeling your feet right now, or you're going to be feeling your tushy bones, your sits bones. All right, so I'd like you to come so that your feet are what's called hip distance. Now, these are not the hips. The femur bone comes up and it angles in. So in reality, your hips are here in the front. The anterior hip capsule, where the force is and where all of the pressure is right here in the front of the hip. So the feet are really about only 4 to 6 inches apart. Now, if you feel uncomfortable with that and balance is an issue, you could take a little bit of a wider stance. So choose what's appropriate here. I want to try to give you this increased body awareness of what's going on in your body, so that from now on after today, you start to stand differently, move differently, and you have this body awareness. If you could take off your shoes, I don't think I mentioned that, it would be really nice for you to get the feedback of the floor, unless you have socks on that are slippery. We're not going to do anything that moves our feet, but just things to note. So these are little extra tools that I didn't even think about sharing. But if you can walk barefooted, so that the soles, like in yoga, they say that so many of they're called nadis, the energy receptors begin on the soles of the feet. And this is where our nerves end from our brain all the way down to our feet. So there is actually a lot of communication when it comes to balance, posture, alignment, and coordination in the joints from the feet. And so now that we're at home, I think people are more inclined to be okay with their feet, because we can't see your feet, right? You can't really see them too much. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to push your body weight side to side. So push your body weight side to side. So are you doing a little chat there, Scott? Somebody asking questions?
That sound, a couple of people said we can hear sound.
Oh, they can't hear. Okay, are you helping them? Yeah. So my husband is my tech guy, and he's here trying to figure out the sound. I know today somebody was saying that, so I'm going to try to. Can you all nod or put a thumbs up if you could hear me okay? So we could see you. Can you see them, Scott? Yeah? Okay, good. Thank you. Perfect. I see, and he sees. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're doing a little side to side. And then I want you to bring your brain into your feet. So I want you to feel when you go side, go slow, don't go fast. Go to one side, feel the body weight going to the pinky toe edge of your foot, feel your tushy cheek maybe, or the side of your body maybe turning on. So go slow enough that you can actually feel that happen. So you could feel this whole kinetic chain of muscles that's responding to you moving side to side. And if you cannot experience that yet, don't worry. It took me a while to develop this. It's called interoception, or body awareness. So you go side to side. And then I want you to come back. Now you're standing on both feet. And then I want you to go forward. Don't go too far. Please don't fall. Feel how your toes grip the floor. And then I want you to push your body weight back. Feel how your heels, the weight goes to your heels. Go forward to your toes. And when you go forward to your toes, do you feel anything here firing up? The pelvic floor and the core and the hip flexor muscles. So see if you could actually start to listen to the communication of your muscles, your proprioceptive nervous system, the coordination in the joints, the communication, because all of that's happening inside your body. And so it's miraculous. We have this unbelievable package that we don't really realize there's so many facets to it. And then I want you to bring yourself back to standing on top of your feet and try to bring them as close as you can comfortably. They don't have to touch, but hip distance. And now I want you to bring your awareness down to your feet. If you could close your eyes or minimize your gaze, because you don't really actually have to see me. You could actually listen to this. Bring your awareness to your feet. Is the weight even in the heels and even in the toes? Is the weight even in the right foot and even in the left foot? Is the weight on the outside edge of the heels, the inside edge of the heels? Is your big toe touching? Do you feel the toes touching? Just notice what you notice. Okay, we're going to work on our first pose called mountain pose Tadasana. It's a pose of alignment, and it's in every single pose we do. So now if you could bring your feet into that hip distance position and do what's appropriate for you. So maybe it's available, maybe it's not. So I have the chair there just in case, just to show you guys that you could have that. Then you're going to bring your awareness to your feet. Down the center midline of your feet, imagine that you have 6 pressure points on the front part of your foot and 6 at the back. So equally establish both heels, 6 pressure points. And then bring your awareness to the toes and press your toes into the floor. Not crazy, just press them. Press the big toe a little bit more than the other toes. So that's you establishing your foot position. Now I want you to come to your kneecaps. Can you gently lift your kneecaps up towards your pelvis? See if you can actually do that. It's actually a contraction of quadriceps. See if you could bring your awareness to your kneecaps. You're lifting them up. Now, right here, the base of your body is called your pubis bone. This is the base of the pelvis. Like suspenders, you know, suspenders, those, I don't know, I think about a farmer, and for some reason, he only has 1 tooth, you know, those farmers. And imagine you have your thumbs here, and you go like this, he goes like this with his suspenders to lift up, and it pulls up his pants. So right here, imagine you have suspenders from here to here. And I want you to activate your suspenders. So pull, and it'll be activating the core muscles. Lift the pubis bone up towards the lower ribs. Now take your hands down alongside your body. First, face your palms backwards. So the backs of the hands are forward. And then straighten your arms. And now slowly start to turn your hands so the thumbs go up and the palms face forward. And then really move the thumbs back. And then reach your hands down as if you just added weights to all your fingers. So you feel tension a little bit here, a little stretching and tension maybe in the hands and in the forearms. And feel that. Now you're going to bring your awareness to your clavicle bones, which are these 2 bones right here. And you're going to imagine that you have helium balloons on those, and they're going to float, 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 lift up. They're lifting up towards the sky. So feel the lift in your body. Don't forget your suspenders. And then bring your awareness to your heart. Press your heart forward. And then bring your awareness to your hands. Reach your hands down so that your shoulders are as far away from the ears as possible. And then bring your awareness to your head. Press your head back on top of your spine. So notice if your head was forward, push your head back and keep your chin parallel to the floor. Don't let your head go into this. Now, when you're not with me after this, try this against the wall. And when you push your head back, you actually try to get the center of the head to touch. And that'll show you where you may have some tightness or roundness in the thoracic spine. Now, you're going to imagine that your torso is like a tube of toothpaste. So in between your pubis bone and your low ribs, imagine down here is where all that toothpaste is. Now, squeeze the toothpaste and squeeze it up under your ribs, up towards your heart. Feel that contraction. You're really squeezing the heck out of the toothpaste. That's turning on your core, drawing in those obliques. Stay here. Do not come out of this. And then push your hands back so your hands are farther back than your body. And then if you'd like, so you could stay here, stay where you are with all the tension. We're strengthening muscles of posture and alignment, so don't come out. And then if you'd like to try to come into scarecrow arms, you could bend your elbows, push your hands back. So stay where you are. I'm just going to show you from the side. Notice if your hands are forward of your elbows. Push your hands back. And then for those of you with shoulder issues, don't do this. You're not lifting your arms. Keep your arms low, or even keep your arms here if you have issues with your shoulders. Now, hopefully, you're feeling some heat in the middle of the shoulder blades. We are using the postural muscles of the back of the body. You have slid your shoulder blades back into their home base. You are activating the muscles that strengthen the muscles of posture. So that pressure that is not at all in the front of your spine right now. Squeeze your toothpaste up underneath your rib cage. Now imagine that the puppeteer has a string in the center of the crown of your head, and let that lift you up as you squeeze your toothpaste. Now you're going to create space, lengthen your spine, bring yourself into a nice postural position. Push your hands back. If you needed a little bit more, you could raise your upper arm bones without raising your shoulders. So this right here, isometric strengthening, this is strengthening the shoulder joint, which is important because that's a big area of concern for so many people. That's one of the areas many talk about. And yeah, I feel heat right now in my back. I feel heat in my shoulders. I'm strengthening my postural muscles with you. Push your feet into the floor. And then take one more breath. Now, let's bring just our hands down for those of you that put them up. But keep them back. And now I want you to notice, go slow here. Notice when you go back to comfortable, notice the slouch. Notice when you go to comfortable, the shoulders come forward probably. The head might go forward and then the tummy might come forward. So that's called Tadasana mountain pose. That is something you could do when you're waiting for your tea to heat up. This is something you could do throughout your day a couple of times, working on your posture every day. October 20th, 2020, day you made a shift to start getting stronger, to go the opposite direction of what started happening in our 30s. Opposite direction, every day. Okay, let's do another one. It's called tree pose. Now we're going to strengthen the hip joint because this is the most precarious to get a fracture in, right? So we're going to do what's called single leg balance. This has balance, it has strength, and I guess it could have flexibility in it as well. So here you may need a chair, or you may need to be near the wall if you have some issues with balance. So I am going to imagine that, let's start on our left foot, okay? So this is my left side. It might look like my right if our screens are shifted, but this is my left side, so I am gonna start on my left. Keep your feet a little closer. So if for those of you that had to go a little wider here, you wanna come close and you wanna use a chair or the wall. And then you're gonna make that strong foot support. So begin the support in the ground at the foot. The left foot, section it off into 12 sections, 6 at the back, 6 in the front, and push that left big toe into the floor. And then take your hands on your waist. Shift your body weight over to the left, not into the left. So you shift your entire body weight over and then come onto your right tippy toes. You're on your right tippy toes. Now take your right knee out to the right. And then first, you could take your right toes, put your right toes on top of your foot, for those of you that need a little less. And for those of you that are okay going a little more, you could bring your heel up. And don't put it on your knee joint. And then if you'd like to bring your hands up, if you bring your hands into the scarecrow, and if you push your hands back, you're actually firing up again those postural muscles. And now where's that tube of toothpaste? Squeeze that toothpaste up under your rib cage, up towards your heart. Feel how that gives you a little lift. We're doing a 30-second hold here because that's what we do in our osteoporosis work. We do a 30-second hold to stimulate. Now you are strengthening your femur bone, strengthening the head of the neck of the femur, strengthening your acetabulum, which is the joint of the hip, and the bones in the pelvis. Be nice and tall. One more breath. And then you're going to bring your hands together, bring your knee forward, and bring yourself out. So hopefully you experience something here, that left side of your body, firing up, turning on, strengthening the muscles. So if you see me in the supermarket, you're going to see me like this. I mean, I know right now we're limited, but if you see me in the supermarket, you'll see me like this. You could brush your teeth like this. You brush your teeth every day. And in behavioral therapy, they say that if you, small habits are easier to maintain. So I like to say when you're doing a normal thing like brushing your teeth or waiting for something to heat up, or maybe now you'll just do this every day. So we're going to go back to 35. Let's get back to that mid-30s with our bones and our muscles. Okay, feet are forward. You're going to bring your awareness to your right foot, section it off into 6 pieces. The back has 6, the front has 4. Hands are on the waist. You're going to shift your entire body weight to the right foot. Come onto the left tippy toes. Externally rotate that left hip, and you could put your foot on top of the right foot or on the lower leg, bringing your hands to your waist or up into a scarecrow position. And then where's that tube of toothpaste? Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You could even lift the right kneecap up. You could lift your suspenders. You can think about the helium balloons lifting up. Tadasana, mountain pose, is in all poses. So we have the mountain pose, the pose of alignment here in our tree pose. Push your hands back. That'll give you a little bit more, and then squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then if you do come out of this, you fall out of it, come back up into it. Take one more breath. And then bring your hands together and bring yourself out. Go ahead and take your legs, just shake, shake, shake. So what I would like to say is that pose right there, tree, is a guideline. That becomes a guideline for you on the improvement you make with practice. It may take 3 months, 6 months, a year, changing and shifting your behaviors, bringing healthy habits, bringing yoga into your life every day. I say every day because you could do tree pose every single day. You do mountain pose every single day. You'll notice that you're going to be able to stay up longer and longer. And I just want to do one more before we come back down to a seated position. This is a little stress release. So I can't see you all. I'm not sure if any of you were triggered because you fell out too early and, oh my gosh, my balance, I'm so terrible. See, I can't have balance, or if any of that was there. And even for those of you that maybe nothing came up, let's do a little stress release technique that the teacher I'm studying with now in India does. Okay, so I want you to grab tension. You don't have to label it, just grab out of the air, grab stuff, and then hold it really tight. Hold it so tight that you shake, and then now you need to make the noise, and it needs to be loud. Okay, one more time. Grab from yesterday, grab from tomorrow, grab from places that have nothing to do with you and you shouldn't be paying attention to it. Hold it tight, hold it with control, so much control. And I want you to release it to the ethers. And then let's come back to our seats. And then hopefully you notice, especially when we do that, hopefully you're able to feel that there is something that happens when we do that. I wanted to share something, a testimonial. One of my students, Joyce, one day after class, she came up to me and she said, "Debbie, I wanted to cry today." So Joyce started with me in a chair class because her balance wasn't good. So she came to a chair class because she didn't think that she could go on the floor. She didn't think she could stand up and do all the work. And she came to my classes, and this was about 14 months later. She started coming to an osteoporosis class, which are my strongest physical asana classes I teach. And she came up and said, "I wanted to cry today in class because for 30 seconds, I held tree pose and didn't fall out of it." So Joyce is going back to the 30s in her bones, in her muscles. And it's really honestly stories like that that keep me doing what I'm doing. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, let me get back to my presentation here. Share my screen. Okay, there, now it's on, right? Do you guys see my screen, Scott? Yeah? Okay. So back to my screen here. Okay, I love this image. So I wanted to get something that was listen to your body. Doesn't this look like listen to your body? So what we just did, the body awareness that we did in the beginning with the feet and the weight side to side. And there were a couple of times I asked you, do you feel heat here? Do you feel this turning on here? And maybe for some of you, you did. When we slow down, you know, if we're driving a car 100 miles an hour, it's very hard to see the scenery. If you slow the car down to 5 miles an hour, you can see everything. So that mountain pose or that beginning that we had was really slow, trying to really feel that. So listening to your body is important. When you practice yoga, it's important that you don't take pain medication before you practice because you want to feel what you're doing. You want to feel what's happening in the joints. You want to feel what's happening in the muscles. And then I put here a pulse oximeter because it's a really lovely thing to have. I have my dad use it all the time, and especially to help him with stress management, because it's a great way to see that when you do deep breaths, you are able to actually increase your oxygen saturation in your blood. So things in motion stay in motion. And there's two aspects to that. One way they stay in motion is if you move really fast all the time, you might keep going as in tumble and move forward. So that's you got to slow down. When we move our body, we keep things flowing. If you think about a river and you think about the parts of the river where the water slows down, that's where all of the debris accumulates. And it's the same thing in the body. We need to keep the body moving. The lymphatic system, which is a large part of our immune system, it doesn't have a heart to pump it. It only moves through movement and massage. It's pretty close to the surface of the skin. It's not as deeply embedded as the circulatory system is. And so movement and massage. And massage is something that we do in yoga. We're not doing that today though. And so the other thing is it can really reduce cramping. And cramping is another complaint I hear often from people, sometimes in class, and then for a lot of people at night. So I asked Dr. Fishman in one of our trainings about that, and he said there's two reasons. One is dehydration, because that slowdown is happening. So the minerals can't get in the muscles and the lactic acid can't get out. And then the other thing is tightness, because it's like kinks in the hose. So when we practice yoga, we actually take the kinks out of the hoses to let everything flow. And we can reduce inflammation when we do this. We strengthen our bones because as you walk, there's a pressure that's being sensed in the body from movement that is part of bone strengthening. And that's why that disempowering diagnosis of osteoporosis when it makes you feel fragile and you stop doing things, that's actually worse for your bones. So there's something that I learned from one of my physical therapists: motion is lotion. And then Dr. Fishman, of course, in his brilliant way, showed us the action in the joints. It's like a bottle brush that when there's compression and movement, there's a squishing out of the synovial fluids. In our spine, we have jelly donuts, or the discs, they have jelly in them. And when we move our body, we're squishing the jelly from side to side and from front to back. So we keep that going. And then this last one here, I want to teach you to be better at falling, because I don't think we're going to stop falling and tripping. I think it's part of life. But what we can do is we can create more receptivity in the joints, so that the ankle joint, when you misstep, if you have a lot of play or a lot of movement, a lot of flexibility in the muscles that manipulate the ankle joint, then it will be able to take that movement and not pull on the bones and create a stress fracture. And I don't know if I have this in any other slides, so I'm going to say it here. I say that you want to, yeah, I took it out. Okay. No beef jerky. So if you think about a juicy steak, I know this, I haven't had red meat in 34 years. So it just, the whole thing is, but it's a great way to give you a visual. If you think of a juicy steak and you squish the steak, you move it, you bend it, it'll move. And if you think about beef jerky and you try to move and bend beef jerky, it tears and rips and snaps. So for our muscles, we want filet mignon muscles and not beef jerky muscles. And if your ankle joints are like filet mignon and you misstep, they're going to go. And if they're like beef jerky, there might be some ripping and tearing. So that's something I like to say. So I'd like to say that you want to create your home practice. And some of my students that are probably here on this webinar, I'm using some of their images. I don't even know if well, I asked them to send them to me for testimonials, so I'm assuming it's okay. In these 3 images, one of them is my student, and that's her at home, because we're probably going to be practicing at home for a while, especially this age group, 50 plus, because, you know, we are. And that's okay, because we're going to make lemonade out of our lemons. And even you see here this husband and wife duo, I love that. And I told you that I have a class, my Saturday class, I actually have husband and wife duos that show up. I think it's cute. And here's some more images. And out of these 4 images, 3 of them are my students. The elderly couple there, that's a stock photo. And everyone else sent me their space. I call it your sacred space. And if you can actually set up a space where you have your blankets, your pillows, your oils, your blocks, your strap. It could be regular pillows, it could be blankets, it could be towels. Creating the space for yourself, then you're more likely to retreat to that area and do it. And you don't have to have a space. The other thing is outdoors. And I told you that you'll see me in the supermarket standing on one leg, because I do it all the time. And that's how I got strong again from my hip replacement, because I stood on that leg all the time to make it strong. And I lifted that leg up all the time to make it strong. So these images here, let me just say something about them. The one with the grass and the castle behind it, that's actually Loch Ness. And that castle's called Urquhart Castle. So I take retreats to Scotland when we're able to roam. I had one planned in May that I had to cancel. So I know some people are anxious to come with me on my next trip. The bottom picture there is me in the Indian Ocean in the Bay of Bengal in India. And that was 6 months after my hip replacement. So that's special. The other one are stock photos. And I don't know if that couple there, how close to an edge they are. So I wouldn't recommend that you do this on the edge. But I just wanted to say that to me, yoga is something you do all day, every day. It doesn't have to be that you show up to a mat. Like I said, you do it when you're cooking. You do it when you're brushing your teeth. You do it when you're outside. You do it in Scotland, in India, at the beach. And so if you start to think about your life and what can you do in your life every day, this is a way for you to every single day work towards something. Okay, we are in a time of lifestyle medicine. I mentioned that a little bit at the beginning. It's a branch of medicine dealing with research, prevention, and treatment of disorders caused by lifestyle factors such as nutrition, physical inactivity, and chronic stress. Nutrition, physical inactivity, well, there's yoga. Chronic stress, really, there's yoga. So I see yoga as something for all of these. Food is information. The bones build tissue, mainly with calcium, and vitamin D is synergistic with calcium and other nutrients, amino acids that are building blocks. You need to have that in your system so that when you do tree pose for 30 seconds and your hip joint is like, oh my gosh, I need to get stronger now, you need to have the ingredients available there. So Dr. Dean Ornish, many of us have heard of him. He ran the program with Aetna, one of the first programs ever to get funding for a preventative healthcare program. And oh God, I need glasses for this one. Oh, I can see. Okay, so what he said is that on his lifestyle medicine platform, that diets can have a profound impact on osteoporosis, either for the better or for the worse. And that's what I like to raise awareness about here, is that, and his plan is mostly plant-based. And I like to use the word plant-rich because I don't eat a lot of animals. I mostly eat plants, so I'm not plant-based, but I'm plant-rich. And there's a reason for that, and I'll speak about that. And he said the dietary combination of eating plant-rich and minimizing meat can have an effect on bone density loss for the better or worse. So these are the 6 recommended things to take out of your diet. And this is why I call this an osteoporosis lifestyle course, because it's not just the physical asana. If you're a smoker, quit smoking. You've got to limit your caffeine to 1 cup a day, limit your daily salt, reduce animal protein, increase vegetables, and eat adequate calcium and vitamin D. I'll tell you why the 3 things: the coffee, the salt, and the protein. Because it's not about a deficiency of calcium, and I told you that that's the main ingredient for the bone building. It's an imbalance between intake and excretion. So that's because the body tries to maintain this beautiful harmonious pH of 365. And it does that either with breath or with the kidneys. And the buffering system the kidneys use is mineral based, and calcium is a part of that. So even if you had the calcium in your diet to begin with, if you have too much salt or animal products or coffee that are all acidic, it can affect the balance of your calcium. Okay, so plant-based, plant-rich diets, right? When I tell people I don't really eat very many animals, they say, wow, where do you get your protein from? So then I say, well, largest land animals are all vegetarian or vegan, actually, right? The bison, the cow. Oh, by the way, the cow, the Highland cattle, that's from Scotland on one of my trips, in case you want to join me. And toxins. Isn't this a disgusting photo? The ground we walk on, the water we drink, the food we eat, the products we put on our skin have so many toxins in them. And again, that buffering system inside the body uses valuable bone building minerals to help remove those heavy metals. So it's important, what we eat is important. 70 to 90% of all illness is related to stress. So I mentioned in the beginning here that yoga is more about the mind than the body, or if I didn't, yoga is for the mind more than it is for the body. And yes, we have osteoporosis, and yes, we want stronger bones and stronger muscles, and we want to be more limber. We need to manage our stress, because that's the environment for building and for healing and repairing. So yoga is a work in and not a workout. It's about finding homeostasis in the mind. And when we calm the mind, we calm the body. When we calm the body, we calm the mind. We create this reciprocal relationship. And so that's all I'm going to say about that. I'd like you to look at this right here, this mountain. And I'd like you to look at this image, this lake. So if you think about your mind like this lake, what we try to do in yoga is we try to keep our lake as beautiful and non-rippled as possible. Because when there's no ripples in the water, you can actually see your reflection. And so we're going to do a little breathing technique right now. We're going to work on psychosomatic harmonization. And I'd like to keep the theme I've worked with today, which is the mountain, which are my 3 pillars for bone health that I believe. So I'd like you to find a comfortable seat. We're going to slow down right now. We're going to close our eyes. We're going to do a little bit of the breath work, a little bit of the meditation mindset aspects. So I want you to come into a pretty comfortable seat. And if you are seated, it's nice to actually spread your feet pretty wide, because I don't want anyone falling out their chairs. And this time of the day, well, first, we're all in different places. So let's come all the way back in your chair. And then I'd like you to take your hand. So you're going to do a hand position like this, where one hand goes inside the other, and you place it almost like you're holding your tummy. And then don't let that stimulate anything for any of you that have some extra stored energy in the tummy area right now. Any of you that have, where your closet, that something's happened, our clothes seem to have shrunk, they say. Okay, so I would like you to close your eyes and take your jaw, wiggle your jaw back and forth side to side so that you take the tension out of your jaw, and then open your mouth really big. And then close your mouth. Let your lips barely touch. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness to your nose. Start to breathe in the nostrils. Keep the mouth closed. This is going to slow down the breath. This is going to warm up the temperature of the breath to the internal body environment. And it's the first line of defense with the immune system, as the little hairs in your nose will trap foreign substances, and the immune system will help to start protecting you. Begin to breathe from the nose down into the body, down to the belly, down to the seat that you're sitting on. And start to take on the shape of a mountain. So beginning at the nostrils is the tip of the mountain. And as you breathe in, the base expands. And feel your seat getting bigger and heavier as you breathe in down to your seat. Feel your body expand. Feel the belly expand. So the eyes are closed again to do that feeling body aspect. So I want you to feel the low ribs, the belly, feel a downward movement, feel or visualize a mountain that you get wider as you breathe in. And then I want you to take 5 breaths like this. You count 5 breaths. Go slow. Try to match your inhale with your exhale. You count. Visualize a mountain from the top of the nose down. Get wider. Feel the heaviness. Feel the belly. Keep your eyes closed. Take your hands. Finish your last breath. Rub your hands together. Rub them so hard that you feel heat generating in the center of your palms. Go really, really fast here. And then cover your eyes. If you're okay touching your face with your hands, do that. Try to let the heat of the palms of the hands be very close to the eyes. There's something very soothing about this for the brain. There's a lot of sensory neurons in the hands that stimulate that part of the brain. And then I want you to allow your eyes to blink themselves open. So don't blink them, let them open themselves. And then notice how you feel. So that was only a few minutes. I would have preferred 15 minutes. That was a few minutes. For some of you, you may have been able to stimulate turn up the volume on the relaxation zone inside the body, which is the zone to be in for repairing and healing and restoring your body and building your bones. So that work we just did in the hip joint and in the postural muscles with the mountain pose and the tree pose, so that whatever those bones are scurrying about right now looking for calcium and vitamin D and other amino acids to build more bones, we hopefully went into a zone where that will happen. So that's breath work. The tools of pranayama ground our mental energy, regulates the breath. It links the conscious and subconscious, which is the spiritual, amazing part of yoga. And there's a nice whale breathing. It's important to make this easy. And I've said that a few times today. So this is lifestyle and habits. This is not, let me show up to a yoga mat for an hour. This is, what can I do in my life every day? What can I learn on my mat? What can I stop and take the time out to learn about how to strengthen my body, and then bring this into my life every single day, so that every day I'm going against that curve. This is actually the time for the U-turn. Here we were on this road, leaving 35, sarcopenia, osteopenia, leading to osteoporosis. We're going to make a U-turn. Sorry, we're going backwards. We're going to start every day strengthening, lengthening, moving, doing something for our body, raising awareness to that need and that ability. So the essential strategies to reduce the risk of osteoporosis and the fractures is to exercise regularly, which is yoga, and all day, right? All day tree pose, mountain pose. Eat a diet rich in bone building nutrients. Manage your stress so your body is in the zone to repair and heal. And maintain a positive mindset. Not, oh my God, I have osteoporosis, what's going to happen? I'm going to fall apart, or whatever it is. Thank you so much. I love what I do. I do this because of what it's done for my own body, because I became strong again, because I walk 2.5 miles every day now, because I teach 5 classes a week, was teaching 7, because I travel the world again, because I got myself back. I like to say I put Humpty Dumpty back together again with yoga every day, standing on one leg, bending over when I'm heating up something. So I have put together a osteoporosis lifestyle course that is 4 weeks long. And if you would like to learn more and practice with me, study with me, that'll be 8 hours of lots of information. You get to take home videos and audio. There's a nutrition guide I created where I have recipes in there and more information about calcium and vitamin D and toxins and other things we could bring into our diet that bind. I just went to a taping of Dr. Mark Hyman's show, Food is Medicine. He has a book, and I align with Western medicine, Western doctors that are in the functional or lifestyle medicine world that want to use lifestyle, behaviors, and habits to be healthy. And so it's that information I share. I have an osteoporosis workshop next Tuesday for 2 hours. And that'll be a very abbreviated version of the 8-hour program. I have a workshop this Saturday for a strong, healthy back. And I teach classes. I teach 5 classes a week. 2 of them are through Torrance Memorial Medical Center, which is in Southern California. One's a chair class, so you don't have to get up, or barely. And the other one is an osteoporosis class. And I also teach YouTube live classes that are donation-based. And if you're in a tough place financially, that's okay as well, because I know for some people that's the case. I want to say thank you so much. I'd like to open this up to questions. I know that I went over. I'm so sorry. It's so hard to contain the excitement, the knowledge, the wisdom. Let me take myself off here of this. Let me, if you want to come forward, I'm actually going to unspotlight myself. I'm going to put us in the Brady Bunch. I'm putting us in the Brady Bunch thing. And so you're all muted. If you want to unmute yourself, you'd have to come forward. and unmute yourself. Okay, Corrine, I just read your chat. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, I am passionate. And it's also because my own body, what I've done, but also my students, the people who don't have osteoporosis anymore or osteopenia anymore, the people that tell me, you're never going to believe this fall I just had. I can't believe I didn't break anything. I'm like, yes, you're a better faller. I don't want her to fall, but I want them to be better fallers. So anyway, yeah. So in terms of recommending dairy, so I don't recommend anything because I am a health coach. I want to share with you what the information says about dairy and about that being acidic and unclean aspects of our dairy here in the States. And there are other foods that have calcium. So in my lifestyle course, I do talk about calcium in terms of where it can be found in plant sources. So, and then remember, it's also a balance aspect with calcium. It's how acidic your body is. Because what Dr. Fishman said is it's really better to get most of your nutrition from your food. And also Dr. Hyman says that as well, that it is better to get your vitamins and minerals from your food. So how can we set ourselves up to optimize what we're bringing in or what we have? When I was at the Deepak Chopra Center studying Ayurveda in 2008, they said, make a shaker. Here's another tool for today I didn't think I was going to share. Make a shaker of half flax seeds and half sesame seeds and sprinkle it on everything. You will be shocked at how much calcium is in sesame seeds. It's unbelievable. And then that's tahini to make tahini dressings. So there are things we can do. If you're recovering from a leg injury, you want to strengthen that leg. So Tanya, you would, I hope a horse didn't kick you. My daughter has a horse. And so I know that whole world. So your leg injury, I hope it wasn't from that. So I listened to my body. So that beginning that you did, you have to listen to your body. So if you were strengthening a leg or a hip or a whatever, single leg standing on that side. So when I first started that, I know if I move stand like a horse. I think you said, it said DVM, so I'm thinking that's horse. Stand like a horse. So don't totally take your leg off the floor. Stand with your foot on the floor, and don't put full weight bearing on it. And I think that doesn't isn't DVM, isn't that veterinarian? Oh, but maybe that's not for horses. Well, anyway, watching horses has been a good teacher for me too. Black sesame seeds or white? I don't know, Julie. I don't know that answer, but I will search that out now. Do I advertise my trips? I advertise everything. DebbieRobinson.com. I advertise my trips. I take people to Bali and to Scotland. Those are my two favorite places. I'm actually Scottish, and my mom and dad that are there, if they were talking, you would think they just got here. And my dad's been here for 60 something years. Plant-based calcium. Yeah. And you know, people are talking now about D3 versus D2. D3 is an animal source of calcium and D2 is vegetable. And I can't remember if it was 90% of all of the vitamin D. You know, vitamin D is actually a hormone and a vitamin. And Dr. Andrew Weil said in the 80s or the 90s, and he told us this at a yoga thing 10 years ago, that vitamin D will be the most important vitamin that we're all concerned about. And so vitamin D is synthesized because there's an ionization and this intelligence of our body when we go in the sun of synthesizing vitamin D. And I've had skin cancer 3 times. So then comes a question of how long, how much, So whatever, I would only share information that I found evidence on and research and the doctor said that to do it. Yes, there will be information in the classroom. You could go to my website, DebbieRobinson.com. My classes are there. I have a class tomorrow that's on YouTube Live that you could come to, 9:30 LA time. So depending on where you are. Let me see, Tanya. Okay, answered your question. Where's the info for the workshops? On my website, DebbieRobinson.com. How about adding vitamin K? Yeah, Julie, I do vitamin K too. And as a certified health coach, I work with a company because vitamin K2 actually is very supportive of the glutathione pathway of the detoxification system in the body. And that beautiful slide with the tongue with all those toxins, we need to detoxify. And we have these pathways of detoxification, and we need to support those pathways. And so that's really a big part of my aging gracefully with yoga work that I do, is the aging gracefully part. So vitamin K2, very supportive. Also foods and highly antioxidant foods. Oh, there is plant-based D3? Okay. Okay, well that's great. Yeah, I'm a big, because the algae and stuff, I love that. You know, I think about, wow, like the stuff in the ocean, the algae, it's harvesting like this energy of the sun and energy of the ocean that is what, 2/3 salt, and or is that what it is? It's 2/3 of the world. Wait, the water is 70% of the world. We're made out of 70% water. I don't know, all of this like miraculous aspects of us humans. You're welcome, Nova. Keto diet good for bone strengthening. You know, yeah, that kind of stuff, like, I don't say one thing is better than the other. I just try to be as formed as possible on what is good for bones, what's going to build my bones, what's going to help my pathways of detoxification. I look at what are the things that get in the way of my body building bones or keeping them strong. Toxins are going to get in the way. Not having all the nutrients there is going to get in the way. So I think it's more about that than it is don't do this, don't do that. It's about, I personally think life is better to think about what can I add to my life instead of what can I take away from my life. And so in my journey of my physical body, becoming a health coach with menopause, for those of us that are lovely enough to be experiencing, trying to be accepting of every stage. It's up to me about bringing in stuff. So when I think about bringing in, then I take up space for what I cannot leave in anymore. So it's almost like I invite new friends into my house. And so then those old ones that were lurking in the corner have to leave. So good habits for bad habits. Oh, could I be louder? Okay, sorry. Here we go. I'm going to do this. My husband said it's okay if I use this. Jennifer, hi. Oh, that was in the beginning.
Hey, what's up?
So Jennifer is my virtual assistant. She's worked for me for almost 4 years because this could not happen without people. And that's what I realized. I don't know if there's anyone here that teaches yoga and wanted to come here to learn about this for a reason other than they have osteoporosis or osteopenia. It's just crazy, all of the moving parts for everything, even for sending out that, oh, there's my cute dad standing up. I hope you were doing this, Daddy. I hope you were able to stand up and do the stuff that I told you. And Mommy, were you doing it? I have an accent when I talk to them because they're Scottish. I can't hear you because you're muted, but I was hoping that you were able to do it. Okay, so maybe that was before. Oh, thanks, Julie. I really love this, and I really think we have to take our health into our own hands. That's really what this is about. And we rely on this allopathic Western model of we go somewhere, we get a diagnosis, and Western allopathy, Western medicine is fantastic for acute illnesses, for injuries, for replacement parts. When you have a biomechanical issue, I couldn't live my life without this hip replacement. It gave me my life back. My life was this big. I had a handicap sticker and I didn't go places. I would ask to be dropped off in the front. I gained 20 pounds and then the doctors are like, lose weight, it's better for your joints. But you can't lose weight if you're sad and you can't move. It's you know, so and it's also good for vaccines. And I don't just mean that in terms of now, but there's a lot of great things that allopathy has. But now we're in the time of lifestyle medicine, and our ailments are metabolic, physiological, and biochemical, and they're a result of the way we're living our lives, the things we're doing and the things we're not doing. And I want to be in this space to share what I've done for years. I've taught osteoporosis for almost 7 years, and then my own journey. I want to teach safe, and I also want to raise awareness that yoga is not just something you do on a mat. It's not about flexibility. Yes, there's a physical aspect, but it's really more about your mind and feeling empowered and knowing that you today just took a U-turn. You're not going towards the 100 mark. You just turned around to get back to that 35 miles an hour, right? And I believe it's possible. So that's why. You're welcome. Oh, Franny, nice to see you. You were in my class a few weeks ago. Rosemary, yeah, and Rosemary, it was so awesome to see you. Rosemary found me during this time when I'm teaching my YouTube classes, and she's been coming to me for like 4 months. I see the name, but I never knew who she was. And so I love to visualize who I'm working with. And that's why I want to also start doing more Zoom work, because I want to see you. I want to talk to you. I want to know your story so that I can help to, empower you and say, these are the tools. These are the tools. This is what'll help you. This is what you need to do. And I constantly study so that I can learn, so I can share what I learn. I'm in a, it's probably crazy to have this here. I just want to make sure I'm not coming too far forward with the shirt here. I'm currently in a 52-week, which is, of course, a year program. Are you leaving, Angie? Is that why you're waving? Okay. I'm in a 52-week program with my teacher in India. Every Sunday, I'm practicing with him. So I'm constantly studying. Yes, Martha, I would love to see you in a class or in one of my workshops. You guys can sign up for my workshops now if you want to take my 4-week, 8-hour course. That's starting November 10th. It's November 10th, 17th, 24th, and December 1st. Tuesdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because I'm in Los Angeles. I'm so happy you joined me from Japan. Domo arigatou gozaimashita.
Ah, very good.
You like that, Jeannie? You've not heard my Japanese? Have you guys seen my daikon ashi? I have daikon ashi. In Japan, a daikon is a radish and ashi is leg. So I learned that this is radish leg if you have big calves. And I say that I have nice Scottish calves. But if I was Japanese, it's called daikon ashi. See, Mom and Dad, those are my big Scottish cats. Okay, any more questions? You guys could either unmute yourselves and ask, or you could chat with me and ask. Dad?
Hi. I do have a question. This is Martha again.
Hi, Martha.
I was doing yoga for a while, very intensely in a studio and everything, but unfortunately, the last couple of years I fell down, and so I broke my wrist, and so I couldn't put any weight on anything. And I was just trying to get back, but then I got this diagnosis, and everything is saying, don't bend forward, don't twist your body. So I kind of have stopped doing yoga for the last month since I got the diagnosis, because now I'm concerned.
Yeah, and maybe I should have spoke to that. That's why I study with Dr. Fishman. So he is a medical doctor. He's had he started in the mid 2000s studying yoga and osteoporosis, and he's actually had an increase in people's hip and spine in his studies. I can't remember how many thousand. I think it's 150,000 hours of practice is what he said up until this point, with no injuries at all. Martha, Dr. Fishman will tell you this, and I will tell you, in the 7 years that I have taught this, I haven't had anybody receive injuries. Bending the spine, yes, you should not bend your spine, but we shouldn't bend our spines anyway, and that's the thing. We don't know how to bend properly. So I didn't teach that today. That's one of the things I'll teach. You have to bend at your hips. You have to keep your spine in its natural curve, and you do hip flexion. But most of us bend incorrectly, using our spine and using our knees. So part of what I teach and focus on is how do you bend properly? In terms of rotation, yes, the Mayo Clinic did a study and said no spinal rotation. However, it is the way to give the most force to the joints, is spinal rotation. And what Dr. Fishman says is that when you are aligned, if your joints are properly aligned, which is what I do so much work on, strengthening the muscles of posture, teaching you how to sit upright and erect, so that when you do add the rotation into your spine, you learn where should you rotate from, how should you rotate to keep yourself safe. So yes, according to Dr. Fishman, and I'm certified in his program, so his 12 poses versus osteoporosis, yes, you could twist. No, you should not bend your spine. Let me teach you how to bend properly. The wrist, number one broken place, we do a lot with wrists too. So I think it's important to study or just to practice yoga with someone that knows their stuff. I'm a certified yoga. I have a hip replacement because a yoga teacher tore my hip joint. And that is why I do what I do. Because, and I had to learn how to whatever. So I want to teach safe yoga. I want to teach safe, strong yoga, so that when we make the U-turn on the road, wherever we are, back to the 35 miles per hour, back to when it all started, that you do it as safely as possible. And yeah, I mean, you have to only study with someone that knows what they're doing, is what I'm going to tell you. And that, I think I also have to raise awareness out there on yoga. Like, I feel like that's a big thing that I'm going to be doing now in life too, is that the safe yoga. Because it's really important to be safe. But Martha, that's how you're going to keep your body, your muscles, your connective tissue and soft tissue that mobilizes your joints, that supports your skeleton. All of that happens when you practice yoga. I don't know anything else out there that is a mind-body practice in the way that yoga is. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Hi, Sandy. I see that you're there. Yeah, Carol, I don't know if I said hello to you earlier. And then my sister's here. All right, does anybody else have any more questions?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
So is osteoporosis then, you don't always have to have it for your life? You can work back to osteopenia to normalcy? Yes. with care in your life, changing some habits?
Yes, Dr. Fishman's study, almost a 1 standard deviation. So osteoporosis is in between, so osteopenia is -0.1 to -0.5. And osteoporosis is once your DEXA scan is beyond -0.25. So he had almost a whole 100 standard deviations. So somebody could have been 2.5 and moved to 1.5. You could be 1.5 and moved all the way out of osteopenia in the first place. So yes, is your name Marty?
Marta.
Marta, it is possible. And I see it all the time. I have people here, Jeannie, who's moved out of osteoporosis. Carol has moved out of osteoporosis. Sharon no longer has osteopenia. And yeah, so I've had people throughout the years that have moved out. But again, it's not just the bone density. I know that with that diagnosis happens, and so then it becomes very focused on what's my number and do I have osteoporosis? What's your soft tissue supporting your joints like? What are your ligaments like? What are the tendinous parts of the muscles that are attached to your bones? What are the muscles like that are supporting the bones? What is your posture like? Half of the fractures are in the spine because we are folding forward. So how can you strengthen yourself to be upright all the time? Well, you didn't just end up here today. It took you years to get here. So you got to retrain that and get yourself out of it. So the answer to your question is yes, yes, and yes, you can.
Because I'm terrified to go on any of those horrific medicines. I know my mother had a severe reaction to Fosamax and it scared no, I'm not, I'm looking for a healthy way to deal with this.
So my lifestyle course, the 8 hours, I do talk about medications. I do talk about what Dr. Fishman says about them. Which ones or which one would he use and what number would he use it at? And also how they affect the immune system and just all that stuff. I didn't have those slides in here, but it is something I talk about, but from him, like whatever he said, because I really watch my P's and Q's. I stay in my lane. I am a certified yoga therapist and a certified health coach, and I stay within my scope of practice. And I use evidence-based research, what is known, and that's why I study with the doctors that I study with. And so I am putting together this program to share what I learn and what I study with you guys. So yeah.
Do you have any CDs or books?
No, not yet. You know, I'm an economics major. I have a degree from UCLA in economics because writing is 100% not my thing. But let me tell you, you have to be able to write if you're going to communicate. So I'm going to have to look for a ghostwriter. What I do have that will be a part of this program that I put together is a nutrition guide that potentially might be 100 pages. And it's at 80 so far. And I'm probably going to turn that into a bound. So I guess that's called a book. I think I'm going to come up with a workbook.
That kind of information a lot of us are looking for.
Yes. Well, and so my nutrition guide, because I actually have gone to cooking school, that's a real big thing. And my students that practice yoga with me don't even know that, or maybe I've said it. I was teaching for a church before this pandemic. I was teaching for 80 to 100 people once a month on a $230 budget. So I have extensive knowledge with food, and I am all about food as medicine, or food as information that my body needs to be strong and to build. So that's why I'm putting together all this, because I want to hit all those. And I see the 3 pillars really is that you need to eat a certain way. You need certain things in your diet, and that then you need to create that stimulation safely. So when Marta asked me, oh wait, you were Marta. It was Martha that asked me earlier about can you rotate?
Yeah, right after her.
Believe me, it's like I'm at that place where there's like, the brain, because I'm trying to think about cognitive, like what can I eat for my brain at this point, and my bones and my everything else. But anyway, so you have to have the nutrients, you have to have that environment, you have to create that stimulation, which is strong and safe. And then you need to be in the mindset. So that fear, oh my God, I'm scared, I'm fragile, I'm this, that happens with osteo or with stress of life and what's happening out there. So if we don't, I think we have to be in all of those things. I think all of that is important. And yeah, I mean, these ladies practice with me 2 days a week. Some people practice with me privately and do workshops, and they're able to gain this. And then they do things off their mat. They stand in tree pose. They do this. So it becomes your lifestyle. It needs to become our lifestyle. You know, movement needs to be, and safe and feeling safe to do that needs to become a part of the lifestyle.
Thank you very much. I am really raring to go. So.
Great. Well, sign up because it's starting on the 10th of November. And I do have a workshop next week on Tuesday, a 2-hour workshop. That'll be a baby version, but baby. And then I have a YouTube osteoporosis class on Thursday. And I have a Tuesday class through the hospital. I'm going to go and explore your website right after I hang up from you. Yeah, DebbieRobinson.com, DEBI Robinson.com. Thank you very much for all you do. I appreciate it. You're welcome. Yeah, I hope to see you. Hasta luego.
Okay. This is Mimi Tusowski. I know it says Mary Ellen, but I've been doing your 12 poses of osteoporosis that you have on YouTube. Mm-hmm. But my question is about, have you ever heard of the product AlgaeCal? It's, and do you have an opinion or anything like that?
So just Dr. Fishman said it's better to get your nutrition from food sources. because they don't
Right.
really know what happens with supplementation. And then Dr. Dean Ornish spoke about the intake and excretion rate. So even if you were taking expensive supplements, but you were very acidic and toxic, then you're actually going to excrete out that algae cal in your urine.
Oh, interesting.
So it's really, so I think there's a lot of factors that go into this. I know of algae cal. I know there's a girl that just got certified by Dr. Fishman to teach. So I saw that. But I try to make most of especially my minerals come from food. Yeah.
From food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then, if you can't up it with that, then maybe patching in some and making sure it's high quality supplementation. It's just that we do not know if supplements work. We don't know that. There's no research that can prove how much, when they do know that some things are synergistic, some things counteract each other. We don't know. Are we creating expensive urine? I mean, I buy some pretty high quality supplements, and then I'm like, do I have expensive pee now? They say that. Not only that, your liver and your kidneys have to process what you're taking in too. So that's why I think stuff like Dr. Mark Hyman, what he's doing with food research, Dean Ornish, there's a guy named Ron Weiss, who is a plant-based doctor in New Jersey. Ethos Primary Care. He's a primary care physician, and he only does plant.
Where in New Jersey? Because I'm in New Jersey.
He has a farm and he has a facility. I don't know.
Weiss?
Yes.
Okay.
And so he's someone I'm going to contact as well. And I saw him speak. But I think that these guys, these doctors, these Western medicine men that are like, we're not going to go down this path anymore, we're going down this path, I align with them.
Right.
That's what, for me, like, that's how I live my life. So I'm only sharing how I live. I'm not, that's what I try to do. I try to eat super healthy and clean and close to source. And, I do think that food is information and medicine when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else want to say anything? Mom, can you talk?
Me?
Yeah. Hi, Mom.
Oh, hi. I saw her picture still there, and I didn't know that you were finished with it.
Were you able to stand up and do the tree pose?
Yeah, Daddy and I were doing them, and there's a few things that we couldn't do, but other than that, I'm sure we done at least about 75-80% of the exercises.
Daddy, you did it too? You stood up and you did the balance?
I did to my best ability, Debbie.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was really good. And
My back straight as a die.
All right.
It's just, I think when you're walking, you're just so inclined to kind of slouch, kind of push forward. Because when I'm walking, and I'll say, oh, Irene,
What do I tell you? What do I always tell you to do? Heart forward?
Yeah, my bust forward and my bust forward and my butt out.
No, not your butt out. I don't tell you that. All right. Does anybody else? Oh, what time is my 2-hour workshop on the 27th? It's the same time as this. It'll be 2 to 4. And that'll be an abbreviated version of my lifestyle course that starts on November 10th. November 10th. November 10th is much more interactive, where the group that comes, I want to really customize it to the needs of whoever shows up to that. My workshop, I'm going to share the poses. And it's really funny. I forgot what you said your name was. Mimi? Mary?
Yes. Yeah.
You're talking about the 12 poses that is on a beautiful cliff overlooking the ocean?
Yes.
That's 5 days before my total hip replacement.
I know. I have it memorized. I do it every day.
It's crazy because I watched that and I can tell where I was limited, but I'm also shocked that I was able to do all that, because when he did my replacement, he said, your hip was a bloody mess. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so damaged.
Yeah.
But I really do attribute yoga to strengthening the soft tissue that supports my joint, the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons. So even if at that point I was fully collapsed, there was so much support by all this other stuff I had been working on in my body for 20 years to support that. So anything else? Any more questions? All right. Well, I think that I am going to go.
Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Feel free to go to my website, see whatever. This will be recorded.
We'll send out an email.
Well, yeah, we'll send out an email with links. Jennifer, now we've turned you into a reaction queen.
I'm just like clapping and thumbs up.
We've done a lot of dry runs for this, and we were doing it yesterday, or I guess before too. And so there's a reaction button. Look down on your bottom of your Zoom. If you put your thing down, it says participants, security, chat, all that. Look where it says reactions, and if you hit that, you could do a thumbs up or a clap. All right. So thank you so much. I hope to see some of you. And I hope that we all today made a U-turn and that we realize that we can. I guess that's really an important thing for me. All right. Thank you. Bye, Julie. Nice to meet you. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Hi, Joyce.
you.
Bye, Joyce. She's way. Bye-bye. Sayonara.
Bye, Debbie. Bye.
Hi, Debbie.
Bye, Debbie.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day or night or whatever it is for you.
For a lot more, Debbie. Thank you.
You're welcome.